Another thing we can do to simplify work in the bash shell is creating aliases. Now we already have some created for us, and we can see what aliases we have just by typing the command alias. So I type that in there. We'll see a bunch of these are predefined in the Ubuntu system. One of them, this one right here, is something that I actually just created. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But we can create simple aliases just by using the command alias. So for example, a command that I use a lot is clear to clear the screen. So I can create an alias for that, and it's just alias, and then you type what the alias is going to be, and it can be one letter or a word or whatever. So I'm going to say C equals, and then I'm going to type the command clear. And so now if I do alias, it shows me I have an alias C equals clear. Now, by the way, if you're doing this and your command has spaces in it, then you want to put those in single quotes or double quotes. So now if I just hit C, it'll clear the screen for me. Now, that's going to be great for as long as my session is open. Once I close my sessions, then I'm going to lose all of that. And all my aliases will go away except for the ones that are predefined. Well, technically, we even lose the ones that are predefined. But we have a file. I'm going to do an lsla here. And we're going to see in all of our files here, we're going to see one called bashrc. And bashrc is the one that sets up our bash session. I'm going to go ahead and edit that real quick. So I'm going to do nano, dot bashrc. BASH. There we go. And this is going to be the bash, or this bashrc script is going to be executed every time we load bash. And as you go through anything that's in cyan here and has this hash in front of it, that's going to be a comment. The others are going to be different commands. Like, for example, this right here, don't put duplicate lines or lines starting with a space in the history. And so that's that hist control command, and this is what sets that. In fact, if you remember from our previous video, I made the statement that putting that space in front of a command to keep it from showing up in the history was an Ubuntu default, but it wasn't a default for every Linux OS. Well, if you put this command in your bashrc file, then that becomes a option used by bash. So if we scroll down a little farther, we're going to see a whole bunch of other things. And I'm going to skip most of them, but I'm going to come down to right here. This is a series of aliases that enables color support. Here are some more aliases that are created. So if I wanted to make that C equals clear a permanent command or a permanent alias for me, I could just do C equals clear, and that now becomes a permanent alias for me. So I can add as many, and you can put this anywhere in here as long as it doesn't screw up, another block of code. You could go down to the end, you could come here. But there's another thing that it does too, and that is right here. You'll notice alias definitions. You may want to put all your additions into a separate file like bash_aliases instead of adding them here directly. And then it gives you an example where you can see what it can look like. But here, this is the file, or this is the command if, and it looks for the existence of the bash aliases. If it finds it, then it imports it. So if you didn't want to add your aliases here, but put them in that bash_aliases file, as long as it matches this file name, then that will work as well. So I'm going to go ahead and exit, and I'm not going to save my modified buffer because I don't really care to save that alias at the moment. But with that, you can now create as many aliases as you want, and you can make them as long, as complicated, or as simplistic as you want. The only thing is that alias needs to be a complete command that you would enter a command line. And once you get that, once you get that, then all you have to do is run that alias instead of typing in the full command.